Okay, I'm sure everybody here has somebody that they love. Now just think for a moment if someone were to tell you that you weren't allowed to express your love to them while everybody else around you was allowed to. How would that make you feel? Why should same-sex marriage be legalized? One, same-sex marriage doesn't harm anybody, and it does a betterment for society and for the government, and it also creates equality for everybody, which is what the government stands for, and what America stands for. A phrase that many people fighting against same-sex marriage use a lot is the term traditional marriage, but what a lot of people don't know is that the term traditional marriage actually means not only a woman and a man, but a woman at home just being a housewife and the man working and the man having one or two mistresses on the side and that being acceptable by society. So obviously traditional marriage is a very outdated term, and in today's society there's many different types of marriages and they vary in many different ways. Man, man, woman, woman, housewife, working man, man, housewife, working lady, like they vary, etc. And they all need to be accepted in order for society to progress. Another word or phrase that people use a lot is ruining the sanctity of marriage, and a lot of heterosexual couples use this phrase, but at the same time a lot of couples get divorced, which also kind of ruins the sanctity of marriage. So I don't really see how same-sex marriage affects it much more than that. And they also say that homosexual couples affects their marriages, and statistically in the Social Science Quarterly article it said that if same-sex marriage were to be legalized, it wouldn't affect abortion rates, children born out of wedlock rates, or divorce rates. So it wouldn't affect their life or way of life at all. And when dealing with stuff like this, it's important to look at our history, because there were times when women weren't allowed to have the same equal rights as men, and African Americans weren't allowed to have the same equal rights as white people. And like nowadays we say like that's absurd, how could people not let those type of people have rights? But we have to remember that there were people back then who felt extremely disagreed with those and felt very justified in doing that, just like people nowadays. So would you, like, if you look into the future, would you rather be the person who progressed with the nation, or would you want to be the person that the future children look at history books and see the people who didn't let people just like them have rights, like children nowadays think about people that didn't let African Americans have rights, or women? And also the brink that we're passing to accepting that, like we're on the brink of it already, and to accepting and not accepting. When a poll was recently taken, 54% of Americans didn't have a problem with same-sex marriage. Also, a lot of people think that same-sex marriage is bad for the government, when really marriages, like the more marriages, the more money the government gets, because there's marriage license fees and also higher income taxes. So if we were to legalize same-sex marriage, there'd be more marriages and more money for the government, which needs money right now anyways, so it'd be a benefit. And they're statistically speaking, an article said that if we were to legalize same-sex marriages, $142 million would go into the city's economy and $182 million would go into the state's economy. So that'd definitely be a benefit. And also, if same-sex marriages were legalized, it'd be easier for them to adopt children. And a lot of people don't think that homosexual couples are a good place for a child to be, but I just don't understand why people would rather have a child in a third world country starving in the streets, or here starving, or jumping from foster family to foster family, instead of being in a loving, stable environment that possibly a same-sex couple could provide for them. And I have some pictures, some visual aids for us. I don't know, you probably can't read them, but this one just kind of supports what I said earlier. It says, the simple fact that she is not your property means we've already redefined traditional marriage. So it kind of just goes to show that it's an outdated term, like I said earlier. And then this is showing how I was saying, like, we're already on the brink of our society accepting that and moving past the whole debate issue by this picture from a restaurant. And it says, him and her, or him and him, or her and her, two can dine for $39.99 at a restaurant. So people are already accepting that in society. Basically, same-sex marriage should be legalized. It's a human right that everybody deserves. And I'm not asking y'all to think it's like a great, wonderful thing. I'm not asking y'all to look at it as good or bad, but to look at it that it's happening and it's out there, and in order for our nation and our society to progress, we have to accept it. And I just hope that y'all can go out and spread the word of supporting same-sex marriages. Because I mentioned earlier, y'all all have somebody you care about and love, and I want you to think of others. Okay, that's it.